Delegating custom tasks in Active Directory. Hi, I'm Don Jones. You probably have seen the Delegation of Control Wizard in Active Directory and probably know that it gives you a pretty easy way of delegating some pretty straightforward tasks. But did you know it really lets you get super granular with what you actually delegate if you want to dig that deep? I'll show you. You'll delegate control here in the Active Directory Users and Computers console. The newer Active Directory Administrative Center doesn't yet have this functionality. Start by choosing the organizational unit that contains the objects over which you want to delegate control. I'm going to use this East OU. Give the icon a little right click and hit Delegate Control. You'll start by indicating who you want to delegate control to. And selecting a user is almost never the right answer. You're typically going to delegate control to a group. That way, as people's roles and responsibilities in your organization shift and change, you can just change the membership of the group, and the right people will always have permission, and you won't have to run through this process again. So I have a group called Office Admins that I'm going to delegate control to. Check and good. That's a good name. And there's a lot of common tasks that you can delegate control over, things like resetting passwords, maintaining group membership, and so forth, but you can always do a custom task and get extremely granular. So, what am I going to delegate control over? Well, the default is to delegate control over this folder, in this case an organizational unit, anything that's already there, and the creation of new objects in that folder. And I'm not going to go for that. I want to get even more custom. I'm only going to give them permission over user objects. Now, I'm not going to let them create selected objects in this folder or delete selected objects. Now, you can get really specific by turning on all of these checkboxes. You can see how much information you get. You essentially get read and write control over all the individual attributes. I'm actually going to turn off these two just to filter things down a little bit. My goal in this case is I want to provide the ability to write a few different properties in here, such as the division someone belongs to, their display name, their direct reports, and let's see, what else can we? How about department number? Just that basic information. You can get as detailed as you want to, but I'm only delegating control over these specific properties. So I'll hit next and just quickly read through here and make sure I'm delegating control over this OU to these folks, and the permissions I'm delegating are the ability to write these 4 attributes only for user objects. So we'll click Finish. Doesn't take it any time at all. And now, just to double check it, I'm going to open this up in the Main Properties tab. Oops, no permissions there. I have to go up to View, Advanced Features. Now we'll dig back down, right-click again, and we'll get our Security tab. So you can see that Office admins have picked up here, and they do have special permissions allowed. And the only way to see those, to verify that I've done the right thing, is to click on the Advanced tab. So here's Office admins. This permission is not inherited from any place, that's correct. It only applies to descendant user objects. And I've got 4 separate permissions in here. So I'm going to just double click that. And you can scroll down and see exactly what permission this is granting. Go too fast, I'll scroll right by it, but it'll be in here somewhere. And I probably scrolled right by it. So essentially, each of those 4 properties that I delegated permission over is going to show up as a separate permission on the list. That's why there's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. This is actually a downside of that Delegation of Control Wizard. For one, there's no go back and fix it wizard. If you want to make any changes to what you've delegated or even sort of audit that you've done the right thing, you have to go in here and manually do it. Sometimes, when you set up a really specific granular set of permissions, like I did, the resulting permission set looks a little bit weird, like the fact that this is 4 separate individual permissions rather than just one permission that has maybe several of these checkboxes checked off. So sometimes going in and manually, see this one, right display name, sometimes going in and manually setting up a permission, as opposed to using the wizard, can actually create a more efficient access control list at the end of the day. I could have come in here and just manually selected off the ones I wanted, division, employee ID, whatever else. The wizard actually created a separate permission for each one. So you do need to be a little bit cautious about how you use the wizard. It can certainly get you there quickly, but what actually happens under the hood might be a little bit uglier than is strictly necessary, and it can make it a little harder to maintain in the future. For example, if I wanted to duplicate that permission for someone else, or if I wanted to take away a permission or add a permission, I'd have to figure out which of these 4 contains the specific one I want. So the wizard isn't always the most efficient way to do it, but it can do it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.